I'm not just talking at people. So I want to make sure that you guys are fully involved, engaged, interacting with me, and I'm going to be asking you questions throughout. So if you are able to hear me and answer me and get involved in the conversation, that would be awesome. So are you guys ready?
Yeah!
Oh, love the enthusiasm. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do. So as Sandy mentioned, my name is Emily Ladow, and I am a disability rights activist. I am a blogger. Hi, Sandy. I see you. I am a blogger. I am a freelance writer, and I do a lot of work on social media. And social media is where I believe the wave of advocacy is moving towards. So what I do is I not only update my own social media platforms with information surrounding disability, but I also work with other organizations to keep their social media platforms updated regarding disability. And how many of you, just out of curiosity, are very active on social media?
A lot. I'm always
A
social.
lot of you? Yeah? Love it. Okay, awesome. So good, because I think that not only is it an awesome platform for you to connect with other people, but you can also use it to spread information. And I don't like the word awareness, but to increase acceptance and understanding surrounding disability. So I'll tell you that the reason I started using social media a lot in the first place is actually because a couple of summers ago I did an internship in DC with an organization called the American Association of People with Disabilities. Have you guys heard of that?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So I did an internship with them, and through them, I began to meet a lot of members of the disability community. I had just graduated college. I was trying to figure out my place not only in the world but also in the disability community. I was trying to come to a better understanding of my identity as someone with a disability. And I imagine that's something that probably a lot of you have experienced as well, trying to figure out how disability factors into who you are and what you're doing in this world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandy. So, anyway, during the internship, a lot of the work that I did was advocating for something called the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. It's a UN treaty. I don't know if you guys have heard of it at all.
No.
No? Okay. So, it's a treaty essentially joining together the nations around the globe, modeled after the Americans with Disabilities Act, in order to better improve the human rights of the disability community in countries around the globe. So I did a lot of social media advocacy surrounding that, and I realized the power that outreach had to influence people to understand why disability rights are human rights, why disability rights are so important, why disability equality is so important. So through that, I began to realize that something that I really enjoyed doing was expressing disability advocacy through writing. So I actually started a blog, and it's called Words I Wheel By. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It's quite all right if you haven't. I see someone nodding their head. Awesome. Yay. So I started that about 2 years ago, and the goal for Words I Wheel By is to make the disability experience understandable and accessible to everyone. Because I often think that if we don't take the time to make the disability experience accessible to other people who may not understand it from the inside, then how can we expect them to make the world accessible to us? It's a two-way street. So that's a huge priority for me and something that I work on all the time. And most recently, although it was already last summer, one of the big things that I did to work on bringing disability into a more mainstream social consciousness is I used Twitter, and a good friend of mine, Maddie Ruvolo, and I, who's another advocate I can tell you about later, we created a hashtag called Because of the ADA. Did any of you participate in that Twitter chat at all? No? No one heard about it? Okay. So we're going to do it again next summer, so hopefully you'll be able to do it next summer as well for the 25th anniversary of the ADA. But what we did was we got people talking from every corner of the globe about what the Americans with Disabilities Act has done for them, be it if they're a visitor to the United States or if they're a citizen of the United States. And that just showed that when you bring people together on a social media platform and you're discussing something that's a huge commonality for all of them, you can really bring attention to something that not a lot of people have thought about before. So that was a big thing for me. And now I would like to know, as we get more in depth in the conversation, what are some of your favorite social media platforms?
Facebook.
Facebook?
I guess I could do one. Mine's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Skype.
You can shout it out if you can see some hands.
Snapchat. Facebook. Tumblr. Twitter.
Tumblr? Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of Tumblr, Thrive has a Tumblr, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Thrive has a big presence. How many of you have written a letter that was published on the Tumblr?
I tried. I started writing it and then my dog messed it up.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you do that? Yeah. You can email a letter that you write to your younger self about advice you wish you had known, like when you were younger, and then you can email it to me, and then I will post it on Tumblr. And it's open to anybody, so anybody and everybody can do it.
And so that's a really good place for a lot of you to start if you're thinking about possibly sharing a little bit more about your disability online. That's a good starting point for some of you. How many of you already talk about your disability a lot online? Are some of you maybe not as comfortable doing that?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes.
So what is it that sometimes makes you a little bit uncomfortable about revealing details about your disability online?
Like, people might, they might, react to you differently. If I tell someone I have a disability, they just might, react differently. They may have that pretend little smile and walking around the hall.
I think Sandy and Jesse probably kind of agree with me on this.
Yeah.
Having OI doesn't really, understand, kind of, stare at you.
But, sorry, and I'm over here, but has anybody heard of Wishbone Day in the OI world? That's a way,
I do.
but that's a way of getting acceptance around a very, what's understood as a negative thing, living with disability, but that's just one way. Because,
There's also, National CP Awareness Day that I think just happened.
Exactly.
So, yeah, a lot of different disability communities have, their own awareness day that you can
It's just kind of
follow online and on social media.
because when you say you have osteogenesis imperfecta, everyone kind of just looks at you funny, really? You don't look like you have it because of Serena James.
I think that's what Emily is trying to say is, we can use that space, I know we talked about the ADA yesterday. What came first, the ADA or the internet? Actually, they came pretty much at the same time. The ADA technically came first, but I think we really lucked out. Well, I don't know. Emily, do you know the answer to that question? What came first, the ADA or the internet?
Internet absolutely came first, but the popularity of the internet took off around the same time that the ADA came to be, which was July 26, 1990, 1 year and 3 days before I was born, in case anyone's wondering. So, anyway, and again, this is great. I love to see that you guys are having conversations in addition to my talking. This is really the goal here, is to get a dialogue going. So, what I want to do is talk a little bit about some of the best practices that you can use to help make disability a bit more accessible when it comes to social media. And I know that's probably not a way that you're used to hearing someone talk about disability. So why would you need to make disability accessible? Shouldn't people be making things accessible to us? But again, the priority is ensuring that if you're sharing your story, that it's really resonating with people. Because a lot of times what we end up doing is using what's called in-speak or jargon. I just wrote a post on this actually, which I'd be happy to share with you guys later. But essentially, I talk about how if we talk too much about our experiences in a way that no one understands, then how will anyone know what they can do to better understand our life experiences and to accept us? So this is a big priority for me. And in terms of best practices on social media, the first thing you can do is putting your best foot forward. And in my case, that would be putting my best wheel forward, I suppose. I don't know how one does that, but you can't see it right now, but I am a wheelchair user. So putting your best wheel or foot or any limb forward is top priority when it comes to being on social media. Of course, social media is your personal and private platform. If you're having a rough day, talk about it. You know, don't hide who you are and who you want to be online. But at the same time, in more professional spaces, when you are talking about disability advocacy, it's important to always be on your A game for that and ensure that you're open to conversations. If someone comes back at you with a question when you post something, be willing to talk about it. If someone says something that kind of offends you, be willing to talk about that too and explain to them why what they said was not okay. You know, you guys have that power to do that. Just through the simple platform of social media, you might change someone's perspective. I know that sounds a little cheesy, but I think it's true. So that's a big thing. And then this, I'm sure you probably all heard in one way or another, but my general rule for social media is that I don't post anything that I wouldn't want my mother to see. So whoever's,
Same.
what'd you say?
I said same.
Same? Yeah. So whether it's your mother, your grandmother, your aunt, your uncle, your doctor, whoever it is, that's one thing. And you know something? That doesn't mean don't post about things like sexuality or stuff like that. You know, because I write about that sometimes. That's something that certainly should not be hidden and pushed to the wayside. It just simply means that, especially when you're in a more professional sphere, when you're doing your advocacy work, to just be sure that you're kind of adult proofing a little bit, you know, the old grandma who's a little bit uneasy if you have your pictures of yourself drinking up on social media. You know what I'm saying? So, what are some of your rules for how you decide what you do and don't post on social media?
I usually try to keep in mind that when I'm posting, my future employers or prospective employers are going to look at it and they're going to try to compare it to their image of their company. They don't want somebody who's posting party pictures and so forth to represent them because that gives them a bad name. It's all really done in the end. So I try to just make sure everything's clean and tell all of my friends and everyone that's connected to my Facebook and so forth to not tag me in pictures that are like that they've taken at parties. If I go, you know, I don't really go to that many parties or anything, but if I am, you know, I just want to like, okay, let me know when you're taking a picture, and if it's got me drinking or something, don't. So yeah, so I just try to make sure everything is pretty clean, and I don't use foul language, obviously. I try to, like you were saying, I try to put things up there that I expect everybody to read, even if it's private. That doesn't mean anything anymore. So, yeah.
Another thing I would also have to say is like try not to like post like all your drama on like Twitter or on Facebook. Kind of just like keep it back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But tell people how they like feel, but don't like make it not fun for other people to be on Facebook.
Now, where's the dividing line between when you post what's real and what's messy about disability and when you leave something off of social media? There's no right or wrong answer. This is a genuine question? How many of you are more upfront about the more real realities, for a redundant way to put it, of disability?
Izzy, do you want to say something?
I think I'm good at that, but to a certain extent.
Can you elaborate?
In what way?
Like, I'll talk about it if they ask, but I don't like people sharing that thing still.
I think I see another hand.
Wait, so you post about yourself? Oh, on your blog.
You're open about yourself.
That's good. That's good because what I was going to say, I don't know if you can see me, so you just get to hear me. But this is Colleen. It's good to be open, but I recently, and Emily, thank you for being here because I know you're a leader in this world. But there was a recent article about a woman. I can't. Her name is slipping me, but it's like Maysoon something, and she talked about.
Oh, Maysoon Zaid. She has cerebral palsy.
Yes, and she is a woman. She's also Muslim, and she has cerebral palsy. And you know how online sometimes people, because they're truly ignorant, there's not any discussion or education on disability, they say really hurtful things. Like they called her like a Gumby mouth, and honestly, I've seen that on GazillionBoston.com and the New York Times and Huffington Post, even on some of the things that Emily's Huffington Post article, people don't know, so they're very hateful. So I'm curious, how do people respond to that? Because I know when I post on social media, I am very, very conscious to see when people are basically bullying on the grounds of disability, to make sure I speak up and say, hey, that's not right, because I know no one else is.
So, interestingly enough, although I see a hand, so Sandy, is it okay if I jump in super quick?
Yeah. Go.
Okay, so I'll say that Colleen, right? Colleen?
Yeah, Colleen.
Hi. So you have some excellent timing because the very next thing that I wanted to cover, you're Colleen?
Yeah, I'm Colleen.
Love it. So the next thing that I wanted to cover was actually handling conflicting views and opinions on social media. And on the one hand, we can say that it's on us to avoid sharing so much negativity. On the other hand, social media is ours to do what we want with it. And if we express something that might be one of the more difficult realities of life for people with disabilities, whether it's police violence or something like that, or abuse or neglect, those are real issues that need to be talked about. And some people might not like that, and some people might not like the way that you talk about disability. They might not like the language that you use. And I know that's something that I come up against a lot because I choose to use something called identity first language instead of person first language. And I think that language is a deeply personal preference, but for me, I choose to call myself a disabled person or a disabled woman instead of actively always saying person with a disability. You'll hear me interchange because I'm okay with either of them. But when it comes to identifying myself, I choose to consider disability as part of my identity. So sometimes when I say disabled person, I have someone who doesn't even have a disability coming back at me and telling me that my language is wrong. And that's something that I have to deal with on a pretty regular basis because I consciously make this choice to use identity first language. And so it's something that I constantly find myself advocating for on the social sphere. And I think that what it comes down to is sharing your thoughts constructively so that even if someone doesn't necessarily agree with you, they can still perhaps have some more insight into the view that you're expressing. But Colleen mentioned that sometimes it comes down to bullying. And this may be a tough topic, so I will give as much of a warning as I can in regards to cyberbullying when it comes to disability. If it's a topic you're not comfortable talking about, I definitely understand. I just want to make sure that we keep it real in this conversation and talk about some of the more difficult issues that we face online. So I know Sandy had something to say, and then if anyone is comfortable sharing at all instances where they've come up against some kind of negativity or bullying and how they handled it, that would be fantastic. If not, I totally understand. No pressure for anyone, but I just want to ensure that this is really an open dialogue that we're having.
No, I guess my question to you would probably be like a perfect segue into the next section. But I was wondering how you sort of overcome, because I know that sometimes when I post something, and I used to have a blog that's more personal, and then I get a negative comment on it, the next blog post or the next Facebook status update or the next tweet I make, I'm like overthinking it. I sort of am hesitant to share stuff the next time because I did get that hurtful comment. So I was wondering how you personally sort of overcome that negative feeling that you get afterwards.
That's such a good question. And I think that for me, the big priority is remembering that for the 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 people who are going to come back at you with negativity, there are probably 1,000 more who are going to come back in a more supportive way. So back when I first started Words I Wheel By, something I experienced that was extremely unpleasant was I posted a blog about my feelings on curing disability and my feelings that rather than searching for a cure, we should be working in the present on supports and services and acceptance and understanding. And I know that that's a very divisive view in the disability community. There are a lot of people who are focused on cure research, and there are a lot of people who are against it. And so when I posted that, that was one of the more divisive things that I wrote, and it was back when I first started the blog, so I wasn't yet used to putting myself out there. And someone came back at me with an email that was full of such colorful language, it could have been a rainbow. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. She called me words that I would not dare let escape my lips. And it hurt because she accused me of looking for my 15 seconds of fame, and she said that I was using my platform for bad, and how dare I express my opinion, how dare I have my own thoughts, Good heavens, why should I do that? And she was vehemently against the idea that cures are a bad thing. And I never said that cures are a bad thing. I simply said that it's something that should be researched in addition to ensuring that we're not trying to just push people with disabilities to the wayside. And so the first time I got negative comments, I honestly started crying. I was really hurt. I was really upset. I said, I put my heart and soul out there for people to read, and they came back at me and they said, what you're saying is wrong and what you're saying is offensive to me. And I said, well, you're offending me, but at the same time, I needed to stop and think about the fact that maybe what I said did rub someone the wrong way, and that not everyone agrees with me. So it becomes that perspective shift, and also remembering that not everyone's going to love you for what you say or for who you are, but you have to find your support circles within what you're doing. And I want to now throw Sandy's question back at all of you. How have you handled negativity online? And again, this is definitely a place where we can be as open as we want, or if you're not comfortable sharing, it's quite all right. But I would definitely love to hear some insight about your experiences. And do I see Jennifer Lee back there?
Yeah, hello, Emily Latu.
Get out! I was like looking around, I was like, oh my god, hey.
I just posted on your wall. I was like, fellow AAPD intern.
It's so funny. Hi, Jen.
How are you?
Sorry, guys. Jen and I were AAPD interns together. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry it took me that long to even like notice. But all of a sudden, I was like looking closer. All right. Hey, girl. We'll talk later. Okay. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Can you please repeat your question again?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just get off topic. You know, I get excited. So, so my question for you is, if you experience negativity online, how do you handle it? What do you do? What tactics do you use?
Well, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I usually ask get my parents' opinions on things, or if they're not home, or like if they're not around, then I would get somebody else's opinion on it before I respond to things.
Okay.
Normally when, my friends are around and I get bullied online, I'll usually call like Desi or Colleen for their advice on things, and before I start posting, I'll usually ask them for advice or my mentorship. But that's normally what I'll do. I'll ask for like my brother or my sister, Desi or Colleen or Stephanie's help with it.
So I'm hearing a big emphasis on community.
Yeah, they are like my family.
Awesome. Does anyone have any specific examples of an instance where they are particularly proud of how they handled negativity online, or maybe not so happy with how it went, and maybe we can reflect on what you can do in the future?
I've seen it not necessarily directed towards me, and I know I do a lot, but a lot of news articles sometimes will try to get their own reach and shares and likes and retweets up. So they sometimes like talk about disability in a really condescending way. You know, like that poor girl or that poor young girl, and she's like, okay. So I think the biggest defense is the share button and is to retweet, because people care about me. And those are the people who are in my social network. So when I get upset about those things, I can bring it to their attention, so I can raise the volume up around how that is not how we talk about people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So share when you see negative is my advice. Who's next?
Anybody else have any examples?
Desi, why don't you do one?
Yeah,
She always has one.
okay, I don't even think I can talk really loud.
I don't know if you can hear you on the camera.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see your beautiful face, but it's okay.
Okay, that's okay. So I have a quick example. This is Tanya, by the way. I have a quick example of I'm a podcaster. So I do radio dramas. I produce them and post them online and so forth. So when I was initially starting out, this was a while back, I posted a few shows up on my first website, and I was still learning all that stuff. I was learning how to mix and put things together smoothly and so forth. I had a reviewer that their job was to review independent audio drama producers and sort of give people an idea of what to expect. They found out that I was visually impaired because I had done a podcast with someone else, and I guess they must have researched my name and found out and so forth. But I didn't disclose that in my podcast. Anyway, they used that information and put it out there pretty much without asking. And they were like, oh, this, no wonder this podcast sucks. It was done by this visually impaired person. They obviously have no skills. They have no computer skills. What else, would you expect? And most of their cast sounds like they use some very offensive terminology. They said something like, most of the cast sounds like they came right off the short bus or something. It was just very ignorant. So I sat there for a little while. I was like, okay, this is one person, it's not bad. And I came up with a way to reply very nicely, to be polite, but in the same token, sort of insult them for their lack of knowledge. They had no clue. So I was just like, thank you so much, sir, for your feedback. I will take some of your suggestions into account. You have good points on the technology, and I'm improving and so forth. I think you need to do some research in terms of individuals with disabilities, since you clearly don't understand what the proper terminology is, and you're very insulting. Have a great day. And then, so I pretty much, I sat down and I was like, listen, I'm going to prove to this person here, and I didn't call them person at that time, but, I was like, I'm going to prove to this person that I'm going to learn these skills and increase my, the quality of my podcast. And so a few years later, I came out with, in 2012, came out with something called The Swamp. It was length of almost like a movie, an hour long and so forth. So I ended up putting that up there. I had a few interviews on different independent radio drama podcasts about it. This person heard it and they did another review and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry that I said this stuff. This person's really good and they're improving, and I expect them to be really big in the audio drama community. I completely take back what I said before. So they pretty much apologized publicly and without me having to do anything. So that was a really
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I even replied to them. I was like, thank you so much for doing your research, and I appreciate that you apologized. And I just want to thank you again for putting it out publicly. That's wonderful. I'm glad you had the I'm glad you had, I guess, not the courage, but the decency to do that. So that turned out well. Sorry, I don't want to take too much time.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. And what I have learned is to kill them with kindness. If they are going to beat you down, you show them that it's not bothering you. Or that it is bothering you, but you show them in such a way that they simply cannot end up looking like the bigger person because you're the one who expressed yourself so eloquently. And did I see another hand up in the front?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, and I think I see one behind you as well.
Yeah, Stephanie's in there.
Hello.
Hey.
Recently I posted an article on my Facebook, a letter to myself, my younger self. I have got so many likes and so many nice compliments. People say, wow, I wish a lot of people can be like you, and I have 3 or 4 shares, so I just wanted to share that with you. I've been having nice compliments. I posted a couple of my speeches I write online, and I just get these nice compliments. I've never been bullied online, but every time I post my experience and how I overcome it, they're just blown away about it. So yeah.
Good. I need the positive stories too, so I love that.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I feel like, I do use Facebook because I'm friends with some of these girls here, like Sandy or Desi, but sometimes I normally don't post things. Like one time I accidentally posted something that my parents told me that wasn't appropriate language. So then my dad helped me delete it off my Facebook.
Right.
And so I feel like in a way, sorry about that. I feel like in a way, Facebook can be kind of a negative sort of use of network to for people to post things on. Most people, they'll swear and stuff, and then make others feel bad that people will comment on their things. So
Does anyone else have a story that they want to share?
I have one.
Oh.
It's actually a good one. My friends are professional musicians, and they saw I was getting bullied on Twitter, and we live out in California, and they kind of stuck up for me. This girl was calling me stupid, and how dare she tell us that she has a disability and stuff, and my friend Miles, who is actually part of the band, he says, you know, she put her heart and soul out there, and, you know, she kind of put everything out there to kind of deal with it. And, you know, my friends, they're amazing. You know, they stopped the bullying, you know, they made sure that I was okay, that I wasn't going to start having freakouts and stuff. So they made sure that I was all right enough to go back on my social media. So.
Right. Yeah?
So mine's negative. I basically put a photo up on Instagram and I hashtag the I support LGBT people. And someone came back at me and said, I forget what they said, but it was something negative. And then a friend, one of my friends, I'm not even close to them, was like, Isabella is this and there's and such good person, blah blah blah. I thanked him.
This is Colleen again. I think there's a lot of blah, blah, blah. And that's what's kind of cool about social media and the internet is that we have a space that we can all access and talk about things that aren't talked about. But I have a question because I know Emily is truly a leader on the social media front for disability acceptance. And I've been admiring her, so I think we are very thrilled to have her. But is there, because, you know, everyone knows what a meme is, right? A meme is like when you take a picture and you put words over it, and there's all these like free programs to generate them. A lot of them make fun of people with disabilities, and there's comments, and we've already talked about that. Is there like a hashtag or something that we can join onto to say, you know, like a suggestion might be like hashtag, that's not how we talk about disability? Because I think, you know, we're all leaders in this room, online and in this room, and I've seen like the Stop Ableism 2015, and I was pretty impressed by that, but just something more about how we talk about disability in the media. Like, do you have any hashtags that you see people using or would recommend us to join on to? Or?
I've seen a couple, and I think that actually the point that you bring up about that's not how we talk about ourselves is something huge that should be brought up on social media a lot more often than it actually is. But two of the hashtags that I follow pretty regularly in terms of disability in the media is hashtag FilmDis. So FILM film and then DIS dis. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but that's a good one that I like to follow. They have regular conversations about disability in the media. And then another one, although I haven't seen it active in a while, is Heard While Disabled. And it's where people share their stories of things that people said to them while they were just out and about in their daily lives. And then you get some conversation going surrounding that. Again, I haven't seen or heard that one in a while, but there are definitely little pockets of social media that are talking about the way that language is used surrounding disability. But at the same time, I think that the bigger issue and one of my big focuses while using social media is to get away from just the bubbles and the pockets of advocates and start bringing it out into the larger atmosphere of people who use social media. So, but there are definitely a couple hashtags, and if I think of any more, I'll be sure to get in touch with you somehow to let you know. You're all welcome to find me on social media, Facebook, wherever, so we can keep in touch, and I can give you the information for that at the end.
Yeah, and you can find us in a larger realm at ADA generation on Twitter, Instagram. So if you have a hashtag, please let me know.
Absolutely. Someone else have something they want to share?
Yes. Speaking or spoke, I can use words. I can. On your other side behind me. On my other side behind me.
Don't run anybody over.
Wait, Danielle or Julie?
Julie.
I know you.
Hi.
Hi.
I need information for you. You share stories. You social media.
Talk about social media.
I need information information. You share stories on social media.
It'd be easier if everybody shared together. Yeah, so it'd be easier if everybody together shared on social media.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that.
I gave you who we are.
It'd be better if everyone knew who we are. Yeah, I agree with that. Allison.
So I think, did I see a couple more comments, right? No?
Rachel, do you want to say?
I think maybe one or two more comments, and then we're gonna have to wrap it up. If that's okay. If you guys have other questions or comments for Emily, clearly she's active on social media, so feel free to hit her up on Twitter and Facebook, and definitely check out her blog.
Yeah. Oh, and Sandy, I want to make sure I have a time check too. I think I saw this thing goes until 10 after 11, but just let me know how much longer I have. About 10 minutes, I think, or...
Yeah, I actually thought that this was going until 10:30. So,
Okay. Oh, no. Okay, you can shut me down whenever, please. I had a whole big long list.
shut you down. The thing is, we want to, I know that we're also active on social media, that we want to talk about this forever and ever. Julie, I think you have one more comment? Okay.
I'm ready for you.
How do I find you?
Yeah, what blog do you use?
Well, she's on, if you Google words, I wheel by. And then,
I'll make sure that I send information to Sandy afterwards to get to all of you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And so, again, I made sure that I had a whole big list of topics because I didn't know how talkative you were all going to be. So, again, I'm sure just like you guys, I could talk about this for ages, but I want to wrap up quickly with a really important takeaway message for all of you. And that is that no matter how you express yourself online, be it through a blog, which I encourage all of you, if you are at all passionate about writing, or even if you just want to try your hand at it, I definitely recommend working on blogging, even if it's for yourself, even if you never share the link with anyone, just a way to get your thoughts out there. So that's one thing that I want to encourage you to focus on, is always expressing yourself, always being true to who you are. Using social media as a platform for good, but at the same time using it the way you want to, because, you're not a walking, talking, or rolling activist all the time. You're allowed to just be you in whatever capacity you want to be. And if that means, by the way, thank you for panning so I can see everyone else's beautiful faces. So you're allowed to be whoever you want to be on social media. And while it's, of course, important to use it sometimes to talk about disability, be yourself on social media. That's the most important thing. And if I can leave you with one thing that I wish I could give you a little canvas and have you hang it up on all of your walls, is know that your worth is more than who you are online. That is so important. So important. Whoever you might be online, whoever you might present yourself as, whatever persona you use, you are so much more than that. You are a whole person. You are not just your social media presence. And that's something that I want you guys to all take away with you. I figured I'd leave you with a good one-liner. So Thank you, everyone. You guys are wonderful.
Thank you, Emily. Alright, we're definitely going to catch you on the social media universe. But thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you for hanging out with me. What a fun way to spend my Sunday. So enjoy the rest of your conference, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. And I'll email Sandy, okay? So you are all welcome to connect with me.
Alright, see ya.
Bye.